Story 1. Lindsay Jo Baum. Lindsay's friends and family describe her in bright, fun terms. She was spunky, active, excitable, and gentle. She had sandy blonde hair and a distinctive, mischievous smile that emphasized her happy nature. Lindsay was only 11 and set to start an exciting milestone that fall, 6th grade. But a cruel decision by someone yet unidentified thwarted that. On June 26, 2009, Lindsay visited a friend's house a few blocks from her own. She stayed a few hours but eventually left, after pleading fruitlessly with her friend's mom to let the girls have a sleepover. It was just after 9 when Lindsay finally departed. The weather was warm and the journey wasn't far, so the friend's mom wasn't afraid about Lindsay walking on her own. McClearly, Washington is a classic small town, no less than 2,000 people, and had all the neighborly trappings you'd expect. That is to say, no one thought that any child would be in danger walking down that quiet sidewalk. The first sign something was wrong was when Lindsay's mother, Melissa, had checked her watch and realized Lindsay missed her curfew. I imagine that her initial reaction was something like a sigh. If Lindsay's request to sleep over was any indication of her usual summer nights, then maybe Melissa thought Lindsay had just forgotten to call home to let Melissa know that she was staying with a friend. Either way, Melissa's demeanor would have certainly turned cold when she called Lindsay's cell phone and heard it ringing in the house, plugging into the wall, charging. Worse, when she called the mother of Lindsay's friends, the mother replied that Lindsay had left over an hour prior, far too long to not have made it home. What ensues is a circus that often surrounds missing children. A call to 911. The police came. They focused on the neighborhood, knowing statistically that missing children are usually found nearby. Melissa drove the streets, hoping that she would find Lindsay wandering around here or there. But as time passed, efforts grew more intense. Helicopters circling the air and dogs on the ground. Not a single sign or sighting of Lindsay was found. She had simply vanished. Years would pass with no news, but behind the scene police were investigating, dozens circling back to a few shady characters. A pawnshop owner who was evasive and dishonest with the police, and who was found to have notes about Lindsay in his home. A set of 3 brothers with disturbing writings of violence against children, and who were both found in possession with pornography. Unclear if it refers to child pornography. Given the nature of the case, I'm inclined to think it is. But nothing panned out. The only break, and another heartbreak for the Baum family, came when it was reported that in September of 2017, hunters had stumbled upon the remains in a rural forest more than 100 miles from the Baum home. There had been a delay in the DNA processing. That meant it wasn't until spring of 2018 that the Baum family learned that it was Lindsay that was found in the forest. For Melissa, who wholeheartedly believed that Lindsay was still alive, this was crushing news. Little has been released about the discovery of the body. Some articles state it was only partial remains, and none clearly state how long the remains have been there for, or if anything of note was found on her. Information will not likely be known until charges are filed, if they ever are. As the investigation continues to drag on, Lindsay's memory plagues the small town of McCleary. Not remembered for her laugh or quick mind, but for the boogeyman who snatched her off the street and drove other children indoors. Another town in which, oh, that could never happen here, actually happened.
Story 2. Missing persons cases fascinate me, but none more so than the case of 15-year-old Martin Allen, who was last definitely seen by one of his school friends heading into King's Cross Tube Station in London around 1550 on November 5th, 1979, on his way home from school. He has never been definitely seen since. Not one person has ever been considered a suspect by the police, let alone charged with being involved with his disappearance. A total of 10 witnesses say they had seen a boy fitting Martin's description on the tube in the company of a tall, aged man around 30, with fair hair and a mustache. One witness says she saw a man throw a boy of Martin's description against the wall outside of the Gloucester Road station. Nothing is mentioned about the man's description fitting the description of the man given by other witnesses. The witness the police considered their most crucial was a person who said they saw a lad fitting Martin's description standing with a man on the Piccadilly line westbound platform. They boarded the same train as the witness and must have shared the same carriage, since the witness says he saw the two get off together at Earl's Court Station. According to this witness, the boy with the man appeared to be distressed, uneasy, and apprehensive, and the man held the boy by the back of his neck. The witness also claims that the man told the boy, "Don't try to run," just before stepping off the train at Earl's Court. In my mind, this was in all the probability of a positive signing Martin was his abductor. All of the other sightings and encounters are considered by the police to be much more uncertain. Hence, the police put more emphasis on this particular witness account. All of the witnesses who claim to have seen the boy fitting Martin's description all stated times between 3:50 and 4:45 p.m. These timings do fit very well with the fact that he would have been traveling from school. I will personally say that most of the witnesses, if not all, who have claimed to see Martin, did in fact see him. These were all definite and positive sightings. I believe, since every single one of them mentioned this boy being with the man, as well as the boy appearing frightened or nervous, and the man either aggressive, throwing the boy against the wall, or intimidating, tell the boy not to run once he's off the train. In other words, all the witnesses saw similar things, which seemed to support each other's statements and corroborate one another's witness accounts. London's Metropolitan Police Force did an extensive search for both Martin and the man. They neither have ever been found to this day. To my knowledge, there have never been any real leads since. A truly mysterious case. What I find most mysterious is that the man, or anyone fitting his description, has never been identified, seen, or found since. This makes me wonder if Martin's abductor was wearing a disguise, or perhaps changed his appearance somehow after the day he took Martin. I don't really have my own theory as to what happened, other than the probability that he was abducted by a pedophile, usually the case when a grown man takes a child. Whether this was someone Martin knew or a total stranger, who knows? The fact that the boy fitting his description did, according to all the witnesses, appear frightened and nervous suggests that he might have been a total stranger. In the late 1970s, there was no CCTV at the London Tube or at the tube stations. Something which had been there at the time would have probably led to a positively identifying the man and the boy who were seen together, assuming the police would bother to check the CCTV, as they did in the case of Andrew Gosden in 2007.
Story 3. Billy Jones. 3-year-old William Billy Jones disappeared in front of the front yard from his family home in Vineland, New Jersey, December 17, 1962. His 2-year-old sister Jill was playing in the front yard along with Billy and their 2 dogs, while their mother, Evelyn Jones, watched them from the kitchen window while preparing lunch. When she returned from tending to her youngest son, Billy was gone. Jill was holding a plastic poinsettia in her hand, which she said Billy had given her, and told her mother that the boogeyman had taken her brother. Initially, people thought that there had been a man in the neighborhood selling plastic flowers, and perhaps he had been involved in the disappearance. However, it was later discovered that the plastic flower had been dug up out of the neighbor's trash and passed around the neighborhood kids. This is not considered to be an important piece of evidence. Family, friends, and neighbors immediately searched the area for Billy. After an hour, the police were called. According to the article by the Daily Journal, more than 500 people, some as far away as Philadelphia, conducted a grand-scale search of the land, water, and air. Searchers included divers, bloodhounds, and New Jersey National Guard. They dragged the river while the pilots searched from above, noting great search conditions with the trees bare on a day so clear that you could see the sandy bottom of the Maurice River, according to reports in the Vineland Times-Journal. Any Vineland High School student that wanted to help search the area was given the day off of school. Mayor Henry Bub Garden issued a special radio appeal. A reward fund was established for the information in the case. Police chased down each tip. Investigators dug up the ground of the Peace Depression, an abandoned Mill Road automobile dump transformed into a 1930s tourist attraction by the eclectic George Daner, and went through the cars in a nearby junkyard, now the former U-Pullet site on the West Landis Avenue. After 3 days with no evidence found, the search was suspended. Eventually, the reward money was donated to the Tiny Tim Fund. The timeline of Billy's disappearance as best as I can put together. Morning of December 17th, Billy's father went to work in the New York Shipbuilding Company in Camden, roughly 30 minutes away. Evelyn ran errands from the kitchen, including a haircut for Billy. Early afternoon. After returning home, Billy and Jill went outside to play with their 2 dogs. Billy was said to have shared a special bond with one of the dogs, named Baby Cakes. This dog also went missing at the same time as Billy, but was found later on soaking wet. 11:45 a.m. The last confirmed sighting of Billy was just outside his neighbor's house. Reportedly, a neighbor saw Billy on his own and told him to go home. 1 p.m. Evelyn hears a knock at the door. Jill is on the other side holding a plastic flower and tells her mother that the boogeyman had taken her brother. Note, there is some conflicting information here. In some articles it says that Evelyn noticed her son missing after returning to the kitchen. In others, it's Jill knocking at the door that alerts her to Billy's disappearance. Also, I couldn't find any information on why Jill knocked on the door, i.e. if it had been locked or not. Evelyn then rushed out of her home in search of Billy. During this time, a man in a green car approaches her and asks if she's Miss Jones, but Evelyn didn't answer. She didn't know the man and didn't want to ask for his name or why he was looking for her. Still unable to find her son after an hour, Evelyn calls the police and reports him missing. 2 notes here. I can't find any further confirmation or clarification of the man in the car. There's also more conflicting information regarding who actually started the search for Billy and reported him missing. Some articles state that the family and friends helped search for Billy, and he was reported missing by a neighbor, while others say it was Evelyn who searched and called the police. Between 1 and 2 p.m., there had been trash collection in town during this time. When investigators learned of this later, they questioned the trashman, who claimed to have not seen Billy, and stating that they would have noticed him being emptied into the truck. Searches at the landfill also came up empty. To unlock any memories of that day, Jill Jones underwent hypnosis in the 1980s and gave a vivid account of holding hands with Billy as 2 men fought in front of an oil drum fire at the Palace of Depression. She had also provided a DNA sample, which had been given to the New Jersey State Police and the University of North Texas DNA lab. Jill Jones believes that Bill may have been taken by someone who wanted a child and therefore is still alive, unaware of his real identity. Bill has a vaccination scar on the back of his left arm that looks like a giraffe, which could lead to identifying him. Jill is the only member of Bill's immediate family who is still alive. Perhaps the most heartbreaking quote from Jill: "I just hope whoever took him treated him decent." At the time of the disappearance, Bill was 3 years old and had blondish brown hair and blue eyes. He was roughly 3'6" and weighed 35 pounds. He did not have good verbal skills, but he loved dogs. I'll also leave articles for additional sources for this story in the description. Thank you all for watching.